This is the northern section of one of Scotland's least known historic sites. This is the Scots Dike, sometimes known as the March Dyke, or even the Threep Dyke, the Threep word meaning an area of land that's disputed ownership. This was 3.5 miles long, running from the northern boundary of what was called the Debatable land. That is an area of land that lay between England and Scotland, but was of debatable ownership. Although David II and Cegedw II had settled the boundary in about 1330, it kind of suited the powers that be that there be an area lying between the two countries. There was basically a borderland, a buffer zone if you like. And the clans such as the Douglases, the Elliots, the Armstrongs, the Bells, they held sway here, and they were very powerful. Constant disputes were going on, and eventually in 1552 the Scots and the English decided enough was enough, and they would lay down a distinct boundary between the two countries by building a dike. Much of the dike has been destroyed, and here we are standing within the Scots Dike plantation. If there's not actually the original dike that certainly represents it, what they did was to dig a ditch on one side, a ditch on the other, throw the material into the middle, and that would form the boundary. The French ambassador eventually was the one who suggested the actual line of the Scotch Dike, because the commissioners from England and from Scotland were constantly arguing over the exact course. The English took the western side, which is actually the better land, but the Scots had the eastern side, which, although lots of moorland there, was a larger area. So the two sides starting digging from one end, the English, the Scots from the other. They met up with only a slight deviation. Now, it is said that the Scots Dike was marked with either, at either end, a square representation of the coat of arms of the country concerned, so the Scots at one end, the English at the other. It's also said that there was a large cross placed at either end. Sadly, neither of these exist today. And this site is really not marked in any way at all, the Scots Dike, and has been largely neglected, in the sense that there have been some records here, excavations and so on, but there haven't been any public attention drawn to it. There's no interpretation signs or anything of that nature. Of course, after the Union of the Crowns, this boundary between Scotland and England became much less relevant. But it is odd on the map. You can see the shape of what was a debatable land, and running right across the centre in a straight line is the boundary between England and Wales, in England and Scotland. So here, on this side, this is England. On this side, this is Scotland. Here is another view of the Scots Dike. This is standing on the Scottish side. The dike ran up to the boundary, forming eventually the Sark Water. So the Sark formed the boundary for England and Scotland further up, and in the other direction it was the Esk and the Liddel that formed the boundary with England and Scotland. Obviously a substantial undertaking to dig 3.5 miles of ditch and dike.